Yes, we did the music first this time. Say something. Thought so.
Look at that.
How's it going, everybody? But we're back with the Bring on the Blitz podcast. It's me, your host today, Papi. Ya tú sabes cómo es la vaina. And then we got co-host Rios. ¿Qué lo que hace?
Doing good, man. It should just be the two of us. We don't need that other guy. Whatever.
We don't need that guy. I don't even know who you're talking about.
I forgot his name already.
Chamo, ni idea. It's been just the two of us, just the two of us. Copyright. How is it going, Rios?
It's been a wild weekend of football in college and in the NFL. I mean, I think we saw the play of the year yesterday, that Commanders and Bears game.
Dude, the biggest plays always come from the most unlikely of games, it seems like. And Jaden, then he looks like the real deal already. But to have like a play like that in your rookie year, against a Chicago team that it's been up and down, but they seem to be gelling together better and better each week. And then just to break their hearts in the last play of the game.
Now, it was a while because I was watching that one, and so Chicago was losing the entire game until their last drive when they finally took a lead.
Mm-hmm.
Then just to lose on a back.
And you thought it was all over. You thought it was all over at that point, and then the Hail Mary.
When I saw the corner in the corner of the end zone, talking to the fans,
waving the fans, dude, that's been all over Twitter, man. It's one of those things that it's straight out of a movie. Like he gets caught up in the emotion. He's like talking, to the fans, talking trash or whatever, and then he turns around. The play's already started. Because I believe he's the one that gets the touch on the ball, right? He's the one that tips it into the end zone where the guy is wide open. So it's just like
former Texan great Noah Brown.
what do you do after that? Do you like if you're a coach and one of your players, it's not like he did it on purpose type of thing. Like but it cost you the game.
It's one of those things that, you're going to lose awareness points in Madden. You have to.
Definitely.
Awareness is dropped down to a 50.
Negative 10 to awareness for sure. But yeah, I mean, that wasn't the only thing that happened. We had Texans, Colts at Texans, NRG.
Another game that was a little bit closer than it needed to be, honestly.
Way closer than it needed to be. Taking us back to week 1 where it was a 2-point game. A little bit more high scoring, but it was very much back and forth. This one, more of the same. Basically the same game plan from both teams.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the details in a second. But if I, off the bat, I gotta say, I feel like the Colts should have won this game. I feel like the Texans just continue to struggle in the same areas that we've been talking about for weeks.
No, I think someone on Twitter put it best. They tend to play with their food a little bit too much, and you see what happens when you play your food. It's going to fight back, and the Colts fought back.
And they never seem like, even when the Texans took the lead, went into halftime with the lead,
it didn't feel like a comfortable lead.
It wasn't. It really wasn't. Nothing the Texans were doing looked like they were going to put this game away. I mean, let's look at the stats, right? We had CJ 25 for 37, 281 yards, 1 touchdown. Definitely a bounce back from the previous outing against Tampa Bay.
Almost definitely. But the concerning thing was the protection. He was pressured on almost 58% of his dropbacks. That's unheard of. The league average is in the 30s. That's even the announcers said this offensive line is doing him no favors whatsoever.
And we talked about it to death. The O-line continues to be an issue, and teams ever since we talk about the Vikings game, the first loss of the season, which was a complete destruction,
dismantling.
But even if you go back to week 1 when we played the Colts in Indiana, the reason why they kept their game so competitive was because their D-line was putting all types of pressure on CJ the whole game. And then Joe Mixon had a really good game, and Nico Collins had like 117 yards and whatnot. But without Nico Collins, with Stephon Diggs, a little bit inconsistency, with Tank Dell completely disappearing from the targets that he was getting last year, it's just like, if you're CJ Stroud, if you're Texans coaching staff, like, how do you win this game? The Colts, again, you came back with the same game plan. Let's just put pressure on CJ. We know the O-line isn't going to show up. We know this is how the Vikings beat them. This is exactly how Tampa Bay beat them. If we're going to beat them, it's going to be like this. And Jonathan Taylor is back, and he's going to run for over 100 yards, which I believe he did.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he averages for his career 122 yards against Houston. He's the new T.Y. Hilton, essentially.
It's ridiculous. What are your thoughts? Like, before we dig into the stats or whatever, bare bones. What are your thoughts overall? Like, when the final whistle went down.
I mean, I think I saw someone said it the best on Twitter. Basically, like, with the interior offensive line, like, their feet looks like they're stuck in quicksand. That you're just unable to pick up basic stunts. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of exotic blitzes or anything like that, or disguised coverages. It was just the front four getting pressure on TJ almost every drop back. They returned the turnstiles, basically, especially at that left guard position. Kenyon Green was getting his lunch money taken. I mean, when you get benched in the first half, that's pretty telling. Like, you know what? You're gonna get our quarterback hurt. Like, we need you to, get it together. And then it's crazy because when Patterson went into the game, they immediately score a touchdown, but then he gets hurt.
Yeah.
Very next three plays when Houston gets the ball back, pressure given up by Kenyon Green, pressure given up by Kenyon Green, and pressure again given up by Kenyon Green. They weren't sacks, but the broken plays with CJ running for his life and throwing the ball away.
Yeah, the Colts left this game with only 2 sacks, I believe, on CJ, but they didn't really.
Really.
A lot of the drives were completely stall because the O-line would collapse almost immediately. We're not talking about them not holding their blocks for long. It was like they weren't even there. The D-line was like on CJ's face immediately, which made him have to run to the side, run outside the pocket, trying to make a play out of nothing. But then he looks down the field. Who is he throwing? Like, Schultz was giving us a bunch of first downs just because, like, that was the last stop of option. Tank Dell wasn't on anything, besides the TD, which it was a lot. It looked like some busted coverage from the Colts. I think they kind of were caught sleeping on that play, but it was nothing consistent. Stephon Diggs ended the game with 81 yards. And then he had that injury. Let me see if I can pull up the actual stat line. 81 yards, 5 receptions. 5 receptions to what, by default has become your wide receiver 1 with Nico Collins out. Only 5 receptions. Schultz, 52 yards, 4 receptions. Tank Dell, 4 receptions, only 35 yards, and a touchdown, which was very clutch and basically won us the game. Joe Mixon on the air, 4 receptions. Mechie, Stover, Hutchinson, like, everybody was getting targeted. There was not like a one big play type of guy, which we keep saying. I keep saying Nico Collins. The lack of Nico Collins has exposed how predictable this offense can be and how stagnant it can be at times. You talked about the play calling last week. It was some more of that this week.
Oh yeah, like, if you watch other teams that run a similar system, they take more chances. With Houston, like, I think Bobby Sloak was just dying to call that screenplay in the red zone that always gets negative yards. I'm like,
I love when you put that in the group chat. I had to giggle because I was very frustrated watching this game, and then I look at the group chat and you said, like, nothing like a good screenplay for negative yards from Slowick. I'm like, that's exactly what it was. That's all that it ever is.
Because you 2 guys that haven't had much playing time with John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson. when you do those screenplays, you got to have continuity, some time on the field together to like, hey, you know what? This is my assignment. This is my assignment. This is where I'm supposed to go. They both look very confused, and it led to negative yards on the catch. Like they honestly were better off letting that ball hit the ground.
Yeah, and CJ was pressured so much, having to run out of the pocket so much, he ended up with negative 10 yards for the game. He's not the biggest rusher of the ball, but he'll give you a few. He'll get you a first down. Every other game.
He'll scramble when he needs to. He's not going to take off every other.
The thing is, like, now he needs to do it every other play. When the play breaks down, you got to look at the guys who got some kind of separation. You're looking over the top. There's nobody running over the top, right? It's always Diggs to the outside, Tank Dell somewhere. Oh man, it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating to see. There were a lot of passes that CJ just threw to the stands because it's like there's no way I'm throwing an accurate ball right now.
Yeah, I think with the offensive line issues, I think it's throwing his timing, and that's kind of the thing that's complicated. Like when you see him throw the ball, it doesn't have the same zip and velocity he had a year ago.
No, and then you see him on the sidelines right after turn the ball over. You see him on the sidelines talking to the O-line, talking to the coaches, and I'm just wondering, like, what is going on in those conversations? What is happening? Because the coach is taking Green out. Thank God they did. But it's like, what other kind of adjustments are they talking about or trying to make in the middle of the game? Because the O-line is getting completely decimated.
They're getting manhandled. And I think someone put it's a lot of it's technique. Like they're supposed to be able to like move their feet, but like it's like they set their feet and then they get stuck, and then simple stunts there, you just get right by them.
Yeah, the tackles cannot keep up with any blitzers whatsoever.
The tackles have been doing a fairly decent job. I think Tunsil and Titus Howard, they're among the higher rated tackles in the league right now, and as far as pass protection goes. Run blocking is leaving a little bit to desired, but again, Joe Mixon, he's able to negate some of that with just his patience and his vision. But man, that interior offensive line is just, we had clamor for them to make some personnel changes before the game. They did, and they rolled out the same unit, and when the literal definition of insanity. They just kept doing this.
The thing is, like, you do want to eventually, because if you're going to make it to the playoffs, you need some consistency in the lineup, right? So I'm guessing that's what they're trying to do. If somebody has a good game, let's keep them in there. Somebody had a struggle a little bit, let's try to keep them in there, see if we can boost that confidence, get some chemistry between them, all the guards and the centers. But it's just like nobody's having a good game on that O-line. Nobody was having a good game at all.
Well, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and the weakest link right now is Kenyon Green. He's poorly rated in pass protection, poorly rated in run blocking. I think a lot of the issues are the tackles and the center having to make adjustments,
make up for that
his deficiencies, because you'll see them sometimes have double teaming one guy when it's unnecessary, and the defenses pick up on that, so they kind of do stunts to get around that. And you have situations where it's two guys covering one person, that person still gets through because
is it has enough time passed that we can consider Kenyon Green a bust?
Yeah, it's starting to get closer and closer to that label.
Because this is what, year 3, if I'm not mistaken? Year 4. This is year 4. Bruh.
You got to look who was there available in the draft. Like, there was a higher rated offense because they traded down. They had a chance to
they did. I remember.
And get Kyle Hamilton.
And I didn't think he was a bad pick when they picked him up. I thought it, like, maybe it wasn't. I didn't think it was a reach or anything, but I was like, it's not a bad one. Like he could be solid.
I felt like it was a reach because he didn't really impress that much at A&M, and you're starting to see it in the pros.
But at A&M, he was used across the offensive, all over the offensive line, right? So
he was primarily a guard.
But he was a player that could be molded into something, but also a Swiss Army knife of sorts. Maybe not elite at any position, but definitely serviceable. And I think that's how A&M used him at the time. So that was one of the things going into the draft where I was like, okay, like, the offensive line needs the whole revamp anyway. Let's get a guy who, maybe can fill a couple of holes here and there. But now we're talking about year 4. His rookie year, he got manhandled by every single D line imaginable.
He
But
sacked his own quarterback.
but at the time, I was like, as long as his rookie year, he needs to grow into his body a little bit more. He's going against grown ass man. It's been 4 years, and it still looks like he's like a headless chicken out there. Like he's way over his head in a lot of those plays, and you could see it. You can see it against the Colts, who aren't an elite defense, but the game plan is so like down to the letter. Like, how do you beat the Texans? Just put pressure on the quarterback. They're not going to stop you.
Yeah. You don't even have to blitz. They just simple stunts and they get right by that left side of the line. Because again, he's a turnstile. He's just letting everybody through. Like, I mean, at this point, like you can't put him out there, on Thursday. Like
against the Jets. We'll touch on the Jets in a little bit. Normally every week we talk about areas of concern, and then players that actually perform and did well. We've touched on the O-line already. Were there any other areas of concerns for you on this past weekend?
I would say the run defense. It's been hit or miss so far this season. No, against opposing quarterbacks, they've done a great job. No quarterback has passed for over 200 yards against.
I saw that. Daniel Hunter has been really, really good pickup.
Yeah, they've been getting to as far as slowing down the opposing quarterbacks. It's Jonathan Taylor. He's basically always going to get 100 yards against Houston.
Yeah, top 5 running backs in the league when healthy.
It's a little bit concerning, but I think with the way the schedule playing outside of the Detroit Lions, you don't really face any elite rushing attacks for the rest of the season, which kind of bodes well for them. But you have that murderers were. Oh, I mean, and the Ravens. I don't even know how I forgot about them.
Oh no! How can you?
But I do have a little glimmer of hope against the Ravens, just because they did shut down Derrick Henry last year. But you got to account for Lamar Jackson too, and yeah, on a short week.
Hey, if the Browns can beat them,
yeah, because
anybody can beat them now.
No, it's not because like something that we were going to talk about initially, but I think it's going to be a moot point is areas to improve as far as the trade deadline. But if Cleveland can turn it around, I don't think they're going to be sellers.
Do you think that it was just like a trap game for Baltimore?
I mean, everybody has them, but it's a divisional game also. But I think with Jameis Winston, he gives them a different dynamic than with than number 4 did, because
he actually has some confidence when he's playing, and he's playing for the win.
And he can push the ball downfield.
Yeah. Oh, that's all he wants to do.
Yeah.
Every time Winston he gets the ball, there's not like 4 options on the field. He's just looking at who is running the fastest out there.
Who's the first downfield? That's my target.
Let it fly.
He's Mr. 30 for 30 for a reason.
Oh man, we love that guy.
No, but other than that, I would say I think the offensive play calling was a little bit better this game. Bobby Slowick did do some of the things that I wanted them to do against Green Bay. Attack the middle of the field, use the tight ends, use the running backs in the passing game, use the quick game. Something I think they need to really utilize a little bit more, especially with the offensive line struggles, is the quick passing game. No more of these, 5-7 step drops. Like, no, like we need to get the ball to CJ's hands in less than 2 seconds. Otherwise, that offensive line is just not going to hold up.
Yeah,
at least they get Nico Collins back. Once they get him back, it kind of helps Stroud out a little bit. But in the meantime, they got to, adjust. Like, clearly your offensive line is struggling in pass protection. So instead of having them try to, block for 3 seconds, get the ball quick. Toss it to the running backs. Utilize the tight ends a little bit more. You're going to have to against the Jets because you got basically Tank Dell's wide receiver 1. And he's going to be matched with Sauce Gardner.
We still don't know exactly what the injury to Diggs is, and we don't know how long it's going to be. Normally, like you said this off air. Normally, when it's something serious, they'll announce it right away, like even within the day sometimes. Because sometimes they'll be like, we need to get wait on MRI results or stuff like that. But normally they will announce it right away.
But just considering this taking this much time as far because he's already gotten the MRI and they've done, I'm sure, multiple tests at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, best case scenario, it's a PCL sprain, MCL sprain, and he's goes on IR for a few weeks and comes back. If it's not hindering, that's best case scenario.
And so what kind of wide receivers you're looking at? It's probably Tank Dell, Mechie, Hutchinson.
Well, I think they're gonna have Tank Dell as wide receiver 1 on the outside.
Yeah.
I mean, Hutchinson's been, he's basically been the X receiver in Nico's spot, so he probably stays the same. I think that wide receiver 3 spot for this game is going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting choice because your choices are
Woods,
Mechie, and who else is there?
I mean, you can maybe do a double tight end sets and throw.
I think they're on there. They're probably going to have to do a little bit more 11 personnel at this point because I think more than likely Robert Woods gets to start at the slot receiver spot because as we saw a few times, Stroud, he went to him on some crucial third downs. Like there's a trust there. Yeah. And he's pretty sure-handed. So I think that's probably the guy that gets the nod for the wide receiver 3 spot. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how slow calls up this game plan. Like I'm saying, this will probably do some more 11 personnel, but also spread them out though. Like that's something that kind of infuriates me at times. Like, bro, like you're seeing they're struggling with picking up stunts. If you spread them out, like you can kind of tell who's going to be blitzing or not. Makes it a little bit easier.
Let's talk about, we talked about all the negatives. Let's talk about positives from the game. And if I can start, Will Anderson, man, he continues to impress me, man. He looks like the real deal every single time. He's already at 7.5 sacks for the year. We're not even halfway through the season. And I believe last year he only got 7 in the year. So he's improving very rapidly. He's still like blitzing out of his mind, but I still wish he put on a little bit more muscles. Like sometimes he's not as explosive as I would like him to be, but he still, man, had a really great game. 5 tackles, 2 assisted, 1 sack. With the Colts O-line, it's miles better than the Texans at the moment. And
they have one of the best lines in the league. That
he was still managing to put pressure on the quarterback, so that was very, very good. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I definitely agree. Not just him, but also Daniil Hunter. I think he's a little underrated as well.
Yeah, I think he's been excellent. I think he ended the game with 2 sacks. Mm-hmm. 2 sacks in the game, and
between those two, they had a total of 16 pressures, 3 sacks, 12 hurries. Hunter had a little bit better win rate than Anderson. Hunter's win rate was 30%. Will Anderson's was 16, which is not bad. But I mean, my favorite part is seeing the way that Daniil Hunter, sacks his quarterbacks. It's like the soldier ball.
And in that second sack, it was almost a safety, if I'm not mistaken. It was very close. So
very, very close.
Yeah. So definitely the defense has been carrying this team. He's been keeping it very competitive in games that they should be losing. Like I said, the only reason the Texans did not lose this game is because Anthony Richardson is just not the guy. It seems like. I had a lot of hope for him. I thought last year, with the injuries, I'm like, it's only a rookie to give him some time. This year so far, he hasn't looked great. And Joe Flacco being the backup or whatever, I thought like, oh, maybe he can learn from this guy because Joe Flacco's been there. He's done it before. Like he's probably one of the better bets that you can have in the game right now. And he just keeps struggling.
Yeah, like during the halftime, like the TV announcers and like the guys in during the halftime show, they brought up a good point. Like, do you go to Anthony Richardson? I mean, to Joe Flacco because he does give you the better chance of winning. Mm-hmm. But they're like, I think ultimately, it was Matt Ryan to say, you're trying to develop Anthony Richardson, you leave him in the game and let him learn. But
Anthony Richardson went 10 for 32, which is abysmal. 175 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And the interception was very questionable. It was like they were down on their the 15-yard line, their own 15-yard line.
They were on their side of the field. That was a terrible play call. Like, I think our friend Dallas, he's a Colts fan, and he brought up the play calling as well. It's like, what is Tyson doing? Like, you're on your side of the field. Why are you taking a risk like that right before
Why?
that?
Right before half too, which was
Well, I think
ridiculous.
with the play calls, you're not doing him any favors. It's like they look for the deep shot, and if the deep shot's not there, he can't complete a pass. Because if you take away that 69-yard touchdown, I mean, he has 100 yards on 9 completions.
He's definitely got a cannon. It's just not very accurate one.
I mean, it was the same thing at Florida. Like, that's the kind of quarterback he was. He'll complete a deep shot, but then miss everything, and then be able to get some yards with his legs. But the most baffling to me was him tapping his helmet to get out of the game because he was tired. Like, I'm pretty honest at the podium. I was tired, but like, man, he has been getting just.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Colts fans feel some type of way about that because you never want your quarterback to tap out into a game that was as close as it was. Like you can still win that game.
Especially outside of the field. I mean, he's just been getting cooked by every analyst, every person that has a social media account. It's just been a brutal day for Anthony Richardson.
And that begs the question: if you're the Colts, like, do you go to Joe Flacco? Because I feel like if you still believe in Anthony Richardson, what's so wrong with having him sit down the rest of the year, just learn from Joe? Like, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I think the problem is he's not. I think getting game time reps is bigger for his development than just sitting there and learning.
Okay, Chamo, but I get that. But look at that. The Colts, if they play Flacco, the Colts win that game on Sunday.
Yeah,
they just flat out do, and they go 5-3, and the Texans go 5-3. You can take the division at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think for this game, the smart move would have been to go to Flacco for this game at least, because even I forgot which one of the analysts was saying, like, this game is going to make or break your season almost.
Yeah, honestly, if the Colts tied the Texans record after that game, like,
because they would have the tiebreaker at that point.
Then you can go into the trade deadline, see like, is there any moves we can make to try to make a playoff push? Can we do that? Because if you're just gonna tank, if you're just gonna completely tank, what's the point? What has been the point of this year?
Yeah, now at this point, they're 2 games behind Houston. Houston owns a tiebreaker, so it's going to be tough for them to. I think the division, more than likely, if Houston wins on Thursday, that division's wrapped up at that point.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe the division is already wrapped. I don't see Jacksonville doing anything of note. I don't see Tennessee doing anything of note. And
the door is slightly open, but if Houston wins on Thursday, that door is completely shut because then Houston has a 3-game lead. They own the tiebreaker, and with Jacksonville, they've won 2 games, and they have a tough stretch coming up on their schedule, and they probably may not win a game for a while. Tennessee, I think they're not going to win another game the rest of the year.
Probably not. Was there another guy that impressed you from the Texan side of it?
That's Eric Murray. He's been kind of the whipping boy the last few weeks. I know I've been pretty vocal as far, especially on Twitter, with some of the lapses of judgment from Eric Murray the last few seasons. But this game, he was all over the field making plays. He only had a couple, plays where he kind of got torched a little bit, but for the most part, like, he was very solid in pass protection. He had a few pass breakups. He was, able to get a couple tackles for loss. Like, he was all over the field. He had a great game. I got to give him his flowers there because normally he's been the one that's been picked on a lot in coverage. And they try to take a few shots at him this game. And I mean, with a more accurate quarterback, probably could be completed. But
yeah,
some of those throws, they were, right on the money. But the coverage was just better.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Again, another part of the defense that's been stepping up. Another guy would be another Joe Mixon. Another really good game for him. We asked a lot of from him this game going into it because we after the week 1 game we knew that the pass protection was going to be very questionable. So we needed to establish the run, and he did a very good job. The way he scored that touchdown, he really fought, breaking tackles and scheming and weaving his way past defenders. So I love that we can say that the Texans do have a very solid run game when you know things actually go their way. The
Yeah,
O line, as far as the run block, is a lot better than on their pass protection.
actually, if you look at the grades for the line for run blocking, it's actually not that good. It's just having
Well,
a,
better,
a guy
better
with
than
having a guy with Joe Mixon's caliber of talent out there.
Yeah.
It makes up for a lot of it, because if you
It makes
see,
a difference for sure.
because a lot of the times he's behind the line, it looks like it's going to be a loss, but he's able to bounce it off or look for a small hole and be able to weave through it and
Yeah.
pick up some positive yards. Having someone with that level of talent definitely makes up for some of the
flaws on
below
the
average pass run blocking so far that we've seen from the O line this season. He's
also
averaging over 100 yards in the games that he actually plays the full game. Outside of the Chicago game, he's averaged 100 yards every single time, 100 yards and a touchdown. Like, I think I saw.
Does he only have one touchdown for the year?
No. Every game he's played in.
Okay. I was about to say, like, sounds wrong. If you see me keep looking to my left over here, I have the World Series game on right now. So
there's baseball on.
I just
on pace for like 1,500 yards and like 12 touchdowns. He's something we haven't seen from a Texans running back in quite a while.
So, I mean, it's still not all bad stuff. People are being very good. I thought Damian Pearson, special teams, continues to surprise me as well. Decent returns.
He might have carved himself a role in this team with his return ability.
Yeah, which at the beginning of the season we were hoping for any kind of production from him. So to see him like actually get a role, which he's been very much okay or better at, makes me happy, especially because I own his jersey. But yeah, man, like, final thoughts on the Houston Texans versus Colts. Like, I think it was way closer than it should have been, and I'm glad Texas came out the victors, because any other quarterback was with Indianapolis in that game, the Texans would have lost this game.
Oh, most definitely. But like I said, the defense is what really kept them in the game. Because people can say, "Oh, Anthony Richardson's not that accurate," but look at every quarterback they played at home. They made Josh Allen have the worst game of his entire life.
I don't know, man. That game against Cincinnati in the snow was pretty bad.
He had 9 completions. I think he had. I want to say around the same year. I think the person that's passed the most against them had 175 yards.
You know what's crazy? I remember that game. I bet the over on Allen for attempts, like passing attempts, and he was way under. He was way under. Okay, moving on. Thursday night football this week. We have a short week this week against the New Jersey Jets. I'm not gonna call them New York till they start playing over there. Is it in New Jersey?
Yeah, it's in the Meadowlands.
Okay, so like at least 5 people are gonna get injured in that game.
Yeah, that they gotta do something to address that field, because I mean it's years.
We've all been saying that for years, and then it's not gonna happen.
Well, they're gonna do it in 2026 for the World Cup.
So they better. FIFA had to step in. What are your thoughts on the Jets, man? They just had another disappointing performance last week.
Well, I remember before the season started, a lot of people had them as like Super Bowl dark horses, Aaron Rodgers MVP discussions.
I definitely thought they on paper they're good enough to make the playoffs and maybe make a good run at it.
Well, like, they have a lot of holes on the roster, and you're banking on a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers coming off a torn Achilles.
And that's the biggest. That was the biggest what if, right?
And he's had moments where he's had some you see some of the old Rodgers there, but I mean, for the most part, it looks like a 40-year-old coming off.
I don't think he's playing bad though.
Oh, he's not playing bad, but he's not playing good enough for them to win either.
So what is it? So what is this? Is it the play calling? Is it I mean, you saw the coaching stuff,
They
that
made a
happened a couple
coaching
of weeks
change.
ago. They got one of the best wide receivers. I think the best wide receiver in the game right. Maybe not right now, but on name alone, Davante Adams is like a walk on in any single team, and becomes wide receiver one.
But I mean, nothing in 2 games. He's averaged like 40 yards, and it's not for lack of attempts either.
So what is it? Is it the play calling? Is it the offensive line? Is it
It's a
like,
mixture of things because like you said on paper,
or are the Jets just curse?
well, like some of their fans say the Jets are going to jet.
Yeah,
That's what they've been like. It's bizarre because they have talent all over the field, especially in the offensive side of the ball. You have like you mentioned, Davante Adams. You got Brees Hall, who's a pretty good running back. And you have a good 1-2 punch of him and Braylon Allen. Then you got Garrett Wilson as well. Mike Williams, he's probably on his way out just because he's been.
Garrett Wilson's been selling, dude. He's been selling the past few games. He's dropping like the easiest catches you could think. Like Aaron Rodgers, when he throws the ball at you, he's gonna put it in a silver platter more often than not.
I think with Mike Williams, I think it's more of a confidence. I think after Aaron Rodgers kind of threw him under the bus before they made the trade with Adams, I think that kind of messed with him a little bit. I think when your mental's not there, like it's going to be hard for you to make the most basic plays, and I think we're seeing that with him. I think a change of scenery is probably the best thing for him. But it's a number of things, like probably the play calling, but I think again they were banking a little bit too much on a 40-year-old to carry this offense. I think
look at the season they've had. They got destroyed by the 49ers before every single one of their injuries, right? So I think they were only missing McCaffrey in that game.
That was week 1.
That was week 1. So they got crushed by the 49ers. They beat the Titans by 1 possession. Destroyed the Patriots, and that was like the game where I thought, like, okay, I know the Patriots were bad, but I'm like, okay, maybe this Jets team can finally get it together. Then they lose against the Broncos in the most boring game of the year. It ended 10-9.
Yeah, they haven't won a game since they beat the Titans.
The Patriots. That's the last.
Patriots.
Yeah. Then they lost to the Vikings. More competitive than the Texans made it. Then they lost to the Bills. Got destroyed by the Steelers, and again just barely lost to the Patriots. It's just been an awful, awful season. I think it's way past the point of return for them for this year. Even if they go undefeated, I don't think they're good enough to do anything of note come the playoffs. And going against the Texans,
they're not winning 11 in a row. That their season,
that's not happening. They still got. They're playing the Texans. They're playing the Colts, Seahawks, Dolphins, Bills again, the Rams, and the Dolphins twice actually. And Tua should be back by then, and hopefully
he's back
healthy.
He played Sunday.
Oh, he did actually. Yeah.
He looked good up there, but they lost a close one to Arizona.
They did, but it's like with the Dolphins, with Tua mainly, it's like, will he stay healthy for the rest of the year?
I hope so for his sake.
For his sake, honestly, and everybody was having conversations about whether or not he should retire. I understand why he doesn't want to.
Yeah. You want to go out there and compete as long as you're,
as long as you can, but you don't want to leave it too late. But that's another, that's a topic for another time. The Jets, though, Thursday night, Houston Texans. Predictions. What do you think the game plan is going to be going into that game for both teams?
Well, I think so I was watching parts of the Jets game, and if you look at their sideline, like the body language is those guys look defeated. Like they look ready to almost give up on their season, which is understandable because you go in, people have high expectations, and you're 2-6 now. Your season is, hanging on by a thread. Another loss, is probably the nail in the coffin for their season. And then you have a Houston team that, despite all their struggles, they were 6-2. Second best record.
They might be the most stressful 6-2 I've seen. But
like
yes,
our boy Houston Stressing says, man, I'm stressed.
Yeah.
No, but despite all the we spent a good 20 minutes just talking about negatives, but at the end of the day, they find ways to win, and they're 6-2, and they're going in with a little bit more confidence. And I think they're going to want to, make up for that game last year where they just got completely demolished.
it's definitely gonna be a test of who wants them more this time around, because I feel like it could be a little bit of a trap game, because going into it, like you said, we're 6-2, right? Going into it, I think the Texans should be overwhelming favorites to win.
Actually, they're
But
not. They're
but they are not exactly.
yeah.
So with all their injuries and stuff, um,
Well, because typically when it comes to Vegas, the odds are they usually give 3 points to the home team. The Jets are only favored by a point, which means they kind of want people to bet on the Texans. Because, like I said, normally for a
but do
home
you
game,
think it could be a little bit of a trap game? Because, like I said, I don't think the Jets have played badly per se. Well, Aaron Rodgers. I feel like the Jets overall have been playing badly, but Aaron Rodgers has been great, and it's only a matter of time before him and Davante Adams can get it going offensively. And defensively, all they have to do is just they don't even have to throw that many bodies as CJ, because the O line is not going to protect them.
yeah, that Jets front four does cause some concern just because they've struggled with the most basic of stunts. I think this game's really going to come down to the coaching. I think whatever team prepares the most for the other team is the one that's going to win this game. If Houston comes up with a more solid game plan as far as getting the ball out quickly, relying on the run game, and being a little creative when you do take some take some shots. Because we saw a couple of times they viewed the plays that Bobby called up for Tank Dell was reminiscent of some of the plays that they called up for him last year when we have him on the outside. Like he's great in creating separation. Like they would call maybe a few more curl routes for him or get him some quick slants just to get up the ball in space.
And that's the key. Like CJ's gonna have to get the ball off quick,
Yeah.
because we know that he's like at most he's gonna have 2 seconds to throw the ball.
But even then, with the Jets, they've struggled. They lost to a backup quarterback against the Patriots. It wasn't Drake May that lit him up.
Hey, we would have lost against the backup quarterback against the Colts if they would have played the backup quarterback.
I mean, Flacco would be starting a lot of teams.
Yeah, definitely.
Their defense has been letting them down a lot as well. Like again on paper, they have a really talented defensive front seven, and then you got your corners and your safeties. Like that happens. Yeah. Again on paper, they have.
I mean, if Russell Wilson and Drake May can put points on the board against the Jets, I am confident that the Texans can do the same.
If Stephon Diggs was healthy and playing this game, I would feel
a lot better.
Saying they win this game easily. Without him, like I mentioned earlier, it's really going to come down to the game plan. The game plan of being disciplined. Because if they come out with they've done a good job of cleaning up the pre-snap penalties.
Oh, thank goodness, man! Because there's nothing more infuriating. Like I'd rather lose a game, for the quarterback getting sacked 5 times than turning like 2 second and 5s into 3rd and longs just because freaking penalties and stuff.
They still had a lot of 3rd and long situations, but I think outside of the one, which is just called the false start to Larry Tunsil at this point.
Yeah.
Like they showed the graphic. He's had
his nickname on Football Reference.
Like the first 2 games of the season, the most penalties of all time in NFL history for a player's first 2 games. That's not a list you want to be on.
False start is crazy.
He has the most by far in the league, but he's done a good job of cleaning it up. But other than that, I mean, I think as far as the pre-snap penalties, it was just a couple of illegal formations, which personally to me, that's one of the dumbest rules in the game. Like
it's one of the dumbest rules in the game, correct?
Like one of them that they flagged saying that the tight end was not close enough to the line of scrimmage. I'm like, come on.
That and roughing the passer, I think it's roughing the passer needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Like I get why it's there, but it's so inconsistent. It's so inconsistent.
It is, and then like
it depends who the passer is.
When you have guys like Mahomes, like he did he faked like he was going to go out of bounds, so the defender would stop, and then he just goes by him. Like that's kind of like taking advantage of the rules a little bit.
Yeah, dude. If this was 5 years ago, he would have gotten lit up.
Yeah,
lit up, dude. So give me a score prediction for it. I think we're both going to be on the same page. we do believe the Texans are going to win. But what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a win. I think it'll be competitive in the first half, but I think they're going to really rely on I think they're going to do what they did against the Colts, get a little too conservative. But I think in this game, it kind of calls for it just because of that field. I think they give the ball a little bit more to the running backs this game and kind of, basically just eat up clock in the second half. I'm going to go low scoring game, though. I'm going to go 15-6. I think it's going to be a low scoring game.
Damn. Okay, not what I had in mind at all. Okay. I think a little bit the opposite of you. I think the Texans are going to be leading by 2 possessions going into halftime. And then the Jets are going to come alive, make it a little bit more competitive. I think it's going to end up 24-17, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a running and Kaimi Fairbairn kind of game.
Probably, but I do. There's just something about Rodgers that you can never count him out for like big plays, especially with Davante Adams now. And I'm sure Garrett Wilson is going to come good at some point. He just needs to be more consistent because he is a great wide receiver. So I do see them like come alive in the second half a little bit. Rodgers is not afraid to throw that thing. So pause. So I'm thinking, 24-17. I think it's going to be a good game. Actually, for Thursday night, I think it's going to be a good game.
We haven't got very many good ones on Thursday night, so hopefully you're right.
I'm hoping so because I'll be watching that game, and I better get some entertainment out of it at the very least. But that would mean that the Texans will be going 7-2, going into the Lions game. Who the Lions might be my favorite team to watch this season so far.
No lie, like if you play fantasy football, you're winning your league if you have a bunch of Lions players right now, which I don't think I've ever said it in my entire life.
They're dropping like points on everyone, dude.
They're averaging points their last 2 games.
42 against the Seahawks, 47 against the Cowboys, 31 against the Vikings in a fantastic game.
That should have been on prime time.
And then 52 against the Titans. Like, I'm really looking forward to this Sunday Lions and Packers. Mainly because I want a little bit of to see how this Packers team performs against a way better team on paper, and then just to see if there's any cracks in the armor of this Lions.
Well, the only downside for the Packers is Jordan Love. He pulled his groin, so he's listed as day to day. But
I'm sure he'll play. I'm sure he'll play. Who's their backup?
Malik Willis.
That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, no. I hope he plays. Otherwise, it's gonna be. I might bet the over on TDs for Goff.
Right.
But we'll see, man. We'll see how that game plays out. Because if the Texans want to have any chance against the Lions on November 10th, they need to see what the Packers do.
Right. Take notes.
I feel like the Packers coaching staff is very solid.
Well, against the Lions, slowing down their offense isn't the biggest of my concerns. It's keeping up with their offense.
Yeah. The way they've been playing, you can't make any mistake. You can't turn the ball over.
Because you have confidence in the defense doing their part. My concern is that the offense, being able to keep up with that line, because the Lions are a high-powered offense. You got to be able to, if you want to beat them, you're going to have to, go toe-to-toe with them. You can't just depend on the defense to just stop them every play, because that's just not going to happen. They got a plethora of weapons. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. They should have Jameson Williams back then. Sam Laporta, that two-headed monster running back with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Like they have. And then you stuck with their play caller, Ben Johnson. Like he's been in his bag all year. Like some of the plays he's drawn, like I've seen him have linemen go, run go routes. I'm like, oh.
Right now for me, it's them and the Chiefs, who I cannot believe they're 7-0. By the way, they're probably them two for the Super Bowl. If you were to ask me right now,
Yeah, you can never count out Mahomes is having, by his own standards, a very down year.
a
He's
very bad year, and Kelsey as well. He just got his first TD against the Raiders the other day.
yeah, like he's leading. I believe he's still leading the league in interceptions with 9. He's not really lighting it up, passing the ball, but they just find ways to win.
Yeah,
Good teams
some of
too.
some of them kind of ugly, but some of them like very convincing.
They haven't had a convincing win. I think all their wins are one possession games. Like they
Against
haven't.
the 49ers, it was 10 points, so it was a 2 possession game.
Who was it? But I mean, still, for the most part, it's
Yeah,
single
and against
digits.
against
Almost.
this against the Saints, it was a 2 possession game. But all the other ones have been like one possession. That game against the Bengals, that one was a heater. Same with the Ravens. They've already beaten some good teams too, which is crazy. They play the Buccaneers, who have been pretty good as well offensively. So
They're just their problem is they're missing all the receivers. Godwin's done for the season. Mike Evans is going to be out for I think another few weeks.
yeah,
I think before the injuries, that would have been a good one, but now with all those injuries, I think Baker's going to struggle a little bit.
yeah, and Hopkins didn't have the greatest of debuts with them, but
I
we
mean,
know what he's capable of.
yeah, I think it's going to take maybe a little bit of time to mesh, but he's going to be, I think it's going to be him and Kelsey, basically your possession receivers. Like they're going to work the
Yeah.
middle of the field. I think he's going to be really great on those out routes and those jump balls in the end zone. I think is rare. I think that's where Hopkins is really going to shine.
Yeah, because I mean, they've had issues finding Kelsey in the end zone like they have in the past few years. This season, for whatever reason, it's just been very difficult for them to make it. But with Hopkins as another option there, you're opening up a bunch of possibilities for somebody like Mahomes, who only needs like one shot to basically throw a dagger and just put the game to bed.
Especially with Xavier Ward, because you basically going to have 2 safeties committed to trying to stop those deep shots, but all that underneath stuff is going to be wide open for him, and he has the patience and the accuracy to be able to find those guys in the middle of the field. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how teams game plan against that, because like how much more help does Mahomes need? Like,
so we are inching close to the trade deadline every single week here. I'm sure we're gonna have some kind of episode where we go through all possible trades going around the league and our thoughts on that.
the deadline's Sunday, so
Well, and our other show, I'm sure.
oh
Yeah.
so go ahead.
Which I think it might be. When are we doing this? Wednesday.
Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday. Okay, so I should be good for that one. Well, everybody, thank you guys for tuning in, watching, listening. Please give us your thoughts on everything that we talk about, because at the end of the day, I mean, we're not the players out there, man. We're just talking from what we see. So
We
please,
just try to break down the X's and O's.
please let us know if you guys have any thoughts on what we said. The Texans going to win the Super Bowl. Is it going to be the Kansas City? Is it going to be a dark horse like the Jets? No, it's not going to be a Jets. Is AR an official bust? I think so.
I wouldn't
Sorry,
go so
Dallas.
I
My bad.
We'll call him a bust, yeah, but I think he's a project that they probably should have sat him to start his rookie season.
I mean, he basically sat his rookie season. He was injured most of it.
Yeah, but at that point, he's not sitting and learning. He's
Rehabbing, yeah. Let's hope we can figure it out. But catch us again next week. We don't know if we're gonna have the guy. That guy. But if not, you're gonna get me and Rios for sure. Join us on another other show, Just Fans, every Wednesday. If not, sometimes some other days, but mostly every Wednesday. Thank you to our Esquina people. Carlos is normally the one that does all this, so bear with me. Follow our Esquina people, or Esquina on Instagram. Follow us. Well, follow them on X as well, our Esquina. Follow us at the B Blitz Pod on Instagram and Twitter, I believe, right?
Yes, it's
the same. And then there's not a lot of baseball going on right now with the Astros, but follow our guys are full steam ahead. Great guys, love their content, always giving you Astro stuff and MLB in general. But yeah, this has been Papi and Rios, another Bring on the Blaze podcast show. And thank you so much. Anything to say, Rios, before we end it?
No, just thank you guys for checking us out, and we will catch you guys on the other side.
And let me see if I can I find the outro. Okay, and bye.